Hello and welcome to DCP SideQuest episode number 10. This week we got Arekkz, we got Briar.
Yo!
Watts couldn't make it this week because she's on official weeb business.
Official anime business.
Yeah.
Right?
She has been commissioned to curate an elite set of anime cats for a calendar.
I'm really looking forward to seeing this calendar. My question is going to be, are they anime cats? Like, are these people dressed as cats?
I think it's cats.
Anime style? Or it's just straight up cats?
It's felines, yeah, that are in the anime style.
Those are two totally different calendars for two very different kinds
You're
of
right.
Two different people. Yeah, that's true.
You're absolutely right. Yes. Yeah, this is definitely something that we had to make sure that we distinguish. Yes. So an official feline anime cat calendar for cats. It comes with a bag of catnip too, that I hear.
The perfect gift for your feline friend.
Oh my gosh. How we doing, guys? How's things?
Good.
Pretty good.
It's been kind of a slightly slow week for gaming, but still good. Still good. Yeah. Still there's a couple small things that have come out this week, so I think we're in that kind of trickle period, right? So there's not like a massive amount of stuff, but there's some cool stuff to talk about still.
We're in the summer days, and I still don't get why the industry doesn't capitalize on summertime game releases, like heavy.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right? Like
I'm taking my Switch with me like on holiday next week, and I want to go through my backlog, but I'm just like, well, there's a lot of the things that I wanted to play are either out in 2 weeks' time, or they're just So definitely, summer is still this void.
Yeah, it's a summery void at the moment, but it's okay. We've had some news about a certain enlightening console.
Oh yes,
is this how this hour's gonna go?
Most definitely. How many puns can we get into this?
Shall we illuminate the subject?
Allow me to switch on the light. Switch.
Oh, fascinating.
What could we be talking about?
Yeah, what are we talking about, guys?
The light switch.
Nintendo Light Switch. All right.
Right. My biggest question about this, to be honest with you, is advertising for Nintendo, right? Is like, if you look at all their advertising, like even their press conferences, like they do this whole, like they do the snap thing because like the parts, the Joy-Con snap on to the Switch, like even like the logo of the Switch, like has the Joy-Cons on it, right? Like, so this thing is like so different. I mean, it's the same, essentially the same shape, but it doesn't have Joy-Cons. Like it has a controller built onto the thing, and it doesn't have it's not a Switch anymore, right? It's like the Switch it could switch between a home console and a to-go console. This can't do that. It's only a to-go console.
The sound effect, therefore, for the logo should now be the sound effect of like the disgruntled person who's trying to take the Joy-Con off but doesn't quite know how to do it, and it's like,
yeah,
it's the sound effect of one hand clapping. It's just
a thunk.
Maybe they can use the sound effect of a light switch, like flipping a light switch.
Like but it's not working. Like when you're trying to figure out.
True.
No,
maybe it's just like pure silence.
Those dial ones that you can like dim the lights with.
There's a little bit of a hum that's coming out of there though, because like the way electricity is.
Those always make me nervous.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are the worst.
Why is it so warm?
So yeah, it is a little strange that they're essentially taking away all the charm of what the Switch is, right?
Some of it.
Well,
I mean, I think what they're trying to do is like, because I mean, it's weird because it's always been marketed as a portable and a home console, right? It is one of them, it is both things, and it's partly why they did so well, because I think towards the end of the Wii U generation, we kind of started to see that Nintendo have always been dominant in the handheld space. They've always been king there. And then they've, towards the end of like Wii U, you could clearly see that like home console kind of wasn't really working for them. So this like amalgamation of two was like the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
But I guess what they're seeing, and I mean, for the most part, it is still largely speaking is portable. I take it with me all the time. It goes like you just throw it in your bag. But I think there's still a degree of people, there's obviously like a portion of people that still maybe it's a bit too big to be portable. There's an interesting thing. So one of my friends who is in Japan, another like YouTuber called Gaijin Hunter, covers like Monster Hunter quite a lot. He actually commented on this. Like, so back in the day when like 3DS was most prevalent, you would see it everywhere in Japan. I know Japan's just one place, but like in Japan specifically, you would go on the train and everyone's got a 3DS, like businessmen, children, mothers, like husbands, anything like that. Everyone would just have it. And then when the Switch came out, he said like he very rarely ever sees a Switch anywhere and people like if he pulls a Switch out to like use it on a train, sometimes people look at him as if sort of like think what is this odd device, because it's quite big when you compare it to a 3DS.
Right.
So from his perspective, like from like his daily commute and everything that he used to see, he mentioned how like he saw this drastic just drop in like everyone just walking around with handheld consoles. So on one hand, I suppose from a Japanese market, maybe this may all be the thing that restores the portable gaming kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Is it though, like the dimension wise small enough to be like a 3DS?
It's not. Obviously, it's still bigger than 3DS, but like there's like if you put them because they released the dimensions, when you put them on top, it does seem to be noticeably smaller. It's not just like a tiny thing. I think I wonder if I can find the picture somewhere. But yeah,
there's smaller. It's not 3DS small, and it's not a clamshell, so it doesn't like protect itself. Real quick, let's go through like the features of this thing. Right?
Yeah.
Sure, it's gonna be a smaller version of the Switch console. It's not going to be able to hook up to a TV, and the Joy-Cons don't come off, but it has an actual D-pad on the left-hand side as opposed to kind of the 4 buttons separated that most people use as a D-pad. It's gonna have better battery life. The screen is slightly smaller, but the same resolution. It's going to come in a few different colors at launch. I think blue, yellow, and gray. And then they've already announced like a Pokemon Special Edition, which is actually really good looking. It's
really
white.
Nice.
It's white with like the buttons and joystick on the left hand side are like cyan, and the buttons and the joystick on the right hand side are kind of magenta. Almost look like printer ink. Like if you imagine those colors as printer ink, like it's really, really cool looking. But I mean, it's got some real compromises, right? You can't hook it up to your TV, so it's only a portable system now. You can't take the Joy-Cons off, so anything like 1-2 Switch that required you to do that, you'd have to buy extra Joy-Cons to do that stuff with. I don't know that a lot of games support that, though, to be honest with you. It doesn't have a kickstand, so you can't like set it on a table and kind of play, in that way. But it is smaller, it is lighter. The battery life is going to be better. It is running on a new processor. It's not a significantly faster processor, but it's a more power efficient processor.
Longer battery life.
Also doesn't have to charge the Joy-Cons, so like that should contribute to battery life as well.
Interesting.
Did I miss anything?
720p.
I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, 720p, it's still 720, which is nice. It's nice they didn't compromise like the visuals. You're not actually having to take a step down, so it's not like a lesser Switch in that respect. It's more just
I mean, it looks like they saw that people really like using Switch as a portable platform and then wanted to fill in the market with that. We're just purely interested in the portable side of it. Which
also it's $200, which is like $100 cheaper than the Switch.
Yeah, that's big. Yeah. That's definitely big. For a lot of people who have been on the edge, that might be enough to push them so they can actually play some of those games. I guess for me, it's a tough call because it doesn't seem as attractive as like a 3DS. 3DS was like a nice little like pocket console that I feel like I could just toss in my back pocket or throw in my bag or something like that. The I don't know if it's bigger than that. I don't know if I'd have that same feeling of that where you kind of have to make time and space for that console for like for
I kind of have the same reaction, Tefty, is I kind of when I saw it I was like that's a little bit disappointing. I was kind of hoping for a more like a Nintendo-ish designed portable console where we've seen like the Game Boy Advance. What was the SP where it had the clamshell design? The DS had the clamshell design. The 3DS had the clamshell. Like we kind of saw that, and what those consoles created was a really convenient way. You didn't have to buy all sorts of protection for them. You could just throw them in a backpack or like you said, back pocket and take them with you, and then pull them out when you wanted to play with them. This thing's got an exposed screen. It's got exposed buttons, so you're definitely going to want to like if you're gonna throw it in a backpack, you're probably gonna want to buy some protection for it, like a case or a screen protector at the very least.
Yeah, and automatically, that's just way more than bigger. I'm interested in.
Yeah.
No,
seems like a missed opportunity in that way.
Yeah, I definitely see your point. I mean, they could have. I mean, I'm not sure exactly how they would have done it, but like, could have potentially put some kind of inbuilt flap that kind of protects it. I mean, maybe they'll sell that as like because there's already on the existing what is it? The existing Switch. There's like a case you can get that kind of mirrors those ones you get for the iPads that like clip on the top and they magnetize and flip over the front. So I guess if you want to try and sort of keep that small form factor, but I mean, you're having to then buy something extra. So I get what you mean. It's because, but I suppose to a degree, it's almost like this Nintendo Switch Lite is not replacing the 3DS per se. It's more replacing the 2DS. Because the way that I see it is, you know how when they release the 2DS, it's much more like, if you've got a kid and you want to give them your 3DS, obviously, and it's just so that they're young, they don't really get it, and they potentially could break the screen. So, you give them a chunky, like, cheese block 2DS, like, you can throw that thing at the wall, and it just doesn't matter, right? Like, they can pick it up. It's got an exposed screen, but ultimately, it's very accessible. And I guess to a degree, this is, despite, their marketing campaign, clearly marketing to, like, skaters and people that hang around in skate parks. Clearly it's... I think it's
Nintendo's core demographic.
Exactly, right. But I think it's more so for like those people that think, my son, my daughter, you potentially like a little bit younger wants to like play with this. But when you think about the Nintendo Switch having the removable Joy-Cons, okay, they're quite sturdy, but maybe this is supposed to sort of fill that void. So I guess in that respect, it's not necessarily supposed to appeal to us as much. Mm-hmm. I guess where it feels is like there's the two main voids. It's either for the younger audience or it's for the people, like you said, like if they haven't picked up a Switch at all and it's a cheaper price point and and they're like, I'm not really considering playing at home. Like I just want something so I can play on the go. Like maybe they might think, it's only a couple $100. So I think they're the two main things. Because like I just pulled up the picture afterwards. Like if you picture the current Nintendo Switch and just take one Joy-Con off, that's basically the width of the Switch Lite. Yeah. So it's actually quite noticeable. I guess you're losing like nearly 2 inches, which takes it to probably just slightly wider than the 3DS, and I guess to a degree, probably similar in width to the PS Vita. So it is going to be quite portable in that respect. And when you factor in, I mean, obviously it's going to be bigger than that, but when you factor in how big some like cell phones have got now, like some of the iPhone XL, like the massive ones, they're almost like small tablets in your hands, right? So I think the discrepancy in size between those two isn't going to be so big that you potentially could. I mean, not that I want to put it in my pocket if it's got an exposed screen, but I think that's probably where it sort of fills the void. And the weird thing is, admittedly, I've got massive Nintendo bias. Like Nintendo could release anything and I'll buy it, so I'm buying it regardless, right? But I think the interesting thing for that is that Doug Bowser also mentioned that they are working on a way to allow people to like easily transfer data between systems. So I feel like if they did that, even though I do take my Nintendo Switch everywhere with me, I'd probably be more inclined to be like, all right, I'm going to make this as purely my travel console when I go to events. And I'll just be like, all right, I'm going to play Zelda. Let me quickly transfer my data over. Bosh, done. Throw it in my bag. And then I have the other one as like purely my home console. That's kind of where I think I'd use it.
That makes sense. Yeah, for sure. It just, some of the conveniences of the Switch are lost. Like being able to do the kickstand, like, you can have a controller that's separate and sit back and have the kickstand with the Switch on a plane, all self-contained in the Switch. You don't have to buy additional adapters. And if you're like looking at the $200 price tag, but then you're thinking, I need an extra device to do the kickstand and a case and all that stuff. Like suddenly it's getting closer to the actual price of a Switch.
Admittedly, I rarely use that kickstand. Like even on a plane, I end up putting my elbows on the tray table and like hold it up here. Otherwise, I feel like my neck hurts from like staring down at the tray table the whole time.
I've used it quite a bit, actually. The kickstand type of thing, in portable mode. But
I don't know. Even if I was to give this to a child, like I'd still be concerned about it with the exposed screen. It's also got like still cooling, right? Like open holes for cooling. And that to me is risky business handed to a child, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Like I wonder, do we know if it's going to have active cooling, like a fan in it, or is it just vented and like open to air? Actually.
I'm assuming it's just vented, right?
The current Switch has a cool fan in it, right?
Does it?
Does it?
I don't think so. I think it's just vented.
Yeah, I don't hear any too much noise when it's going.
No, I don't either.
Yeah, I've never heard a fan out of there. Are they still making DS games? Has there been any new DS games recently?
Not from Nintendo.
Don't think so. No, I think they're gradually starting to phase out. Because wasn't there? I think there was an announcement a little while ago where they said they were basically phasing out like the 3DS because it's coming towards the end of its life.
Sure.
I think there's still a few things you see popping up here and there. Like obviously had like the remaining like Luigi game like last year or something. So there's like a few kind of stragglers, but I think they're basically going in that direction. And I imagine that once the kind of Switch Lite comes out and they start doing that proper switch over, they'll probably come that hard cut where it's like it's done, it's finished.
Okay. So
I mean, they still sell it new in stores,
right?
And there's like a million games for it.
Yeah, it's a huge library. Obviously, they've sold just absolute scads of DSs over its lifetime. So the library is definitely big. This makes perfect sense for them on a business side of like, okay, you have the Switch, which is a great console, and then you have the DS market, and like I see this as a bridge towards the DS market. It's just I feel like it doesn't quite check all the boxes for a dedicated DS user, you know, like I guess I guess that's what I see is like if you're a hardcore 3DS user or DS user, you want that thing to be like very convenient, and I don't know if that fits in the convenience side just yet. So maybe it's like next year they'll have an even further 3DS ish or DS ish like clam style type of thing that they would still use the Switch operating system, and so like the library would carry over across everything. So it's unified, but you have various devices that go from ultra portable to it's in your living room and also in your lap and all that.
Yeah. I mean, we could definitely expect for Nintendo to release multiple iterations of the Nintendo Switch over the next decade, right? Like that is definitely gonna happen.
Yeah,
the Switch does have a cooling fan in it. I just looked it up.
It does. I've never heard it before. Interesting.
Yeah, it must be like super.
It might only work in docked mode, and that's why it overclocks when it's in docked mode.
That makes sense. That's why you don't hear it when you're actually plugging it or holding it. Yeah.
But here's my one gripe with the Switch Lite, right?
Tell me.
This is clickbait. Arekkz has a gripe with a Nintendo product.
Why Arekkz hates Nintendo?
Oh no,
that's the title of this video.
Oh,
here it
comes. God.
Here we go. Right. So they announced the Switch Lite, and I was like, because I was on the train at the time, so I missed the announcement. I caught up on it. I was scrolling through it, and then I saw some pictures. I was like, "There's a yellow one." I was like, "There's a green one." I was like, "They're going to release these in all these different colors."
Oh yeah.
Like, all right. Let me just go to the website. Let me find the red one. I'll scroll through these pages. I'm like, all right, yellow. Turquoise. Where's the red one at? So no, maybe it's on the next page. Go to the next page. Gray. I'm like, Nintendo. What have you done here? How have you not released a Nintendo Switch Lite in your Nintendo Red? Like,
that's weird.
It's Mario. It's Nintendo. Like, it would be an instant. I mean, okay, maybe it's because I love red too much, but like, come on, man.
It's like
I think
not
you're gonna have
calling
to
it the
wait
light
till
switch.
Mario Odyssey 2. The special edition that comes with
yeah.
Mario Odyssey 2.
Yeah, exactly.
And here begins the vicious cycle, because I think back to like 3DS. I had my 3DS at first. Then when they started releasing, the newer models of the 3DS ones, the ones that almost had the nice seamless close, that sort of the white and orange one. I then ended up buying like 2 of those just in different color combinations. I completely don't need them, but I'm like, well, now this is a cool color combo. And here begins I already buy every single Joy-Con color, and now I'm clearly going to be buying multiple Nintendo Switch Lites that I won't need just because they're in cool colors. So, Nintendo, you might as well take my wallet now. I'll set up a direct debit. Just send me all the new stuff, because it's just an easier way to do it. But yeah, no red. I feel like I'm going to get the Pokemon one. But someone raised an interesting point.
The Pokemon looks good.
That does look very good. However, I feel like they would have announced it by now, but it also released on the same day as Link's Awakening Remaster, and they've done
there's no Zelda one.
Yeah, so unless they're keeping it close to their chest, or unless they're holding it for like when they release Breath of the Wild 2 and they want to do that.
Okay.
So either way, whenever that happens, take my money.
Interesting. Huh.
I mean, why wouldn't they just kind of keep creating special editions, just like they've done in the past with previous consoles? And frankly,
I'm sure they've been super successful.
Another thing that is strongly rumored based on patent filings for Nintendo is that there is going to be a full-size Switch with upgraded hardware. They may not market it and they may not say anything about it, but this processor they're putting in the light switch, it's strongly rumored that this is also going to go in the full size Switch because it runs cooler, and it'll get better battery life.
Is this going to be like a legit upgrade, or is it just going to be kind of like a PS4
Probably,
Pro to
no,
a
it
PS...
won't have any extra features. Like it won't run faster. It'll probably be like kind of like one of those things where like an Xbox 360 comes out and like midway through they refresh the hardware, so there's a different motherboard, and a smaller die size processor, but they don't they don't come out and say, oh, this is a new Xbox 360,
PS4 Slim type of thing.
Yeah, I would imagine there might not even be a change to the external appearance of it.
Gotcha. Okay.
But what I do want to see eventually, I'd love to see, is like a new Switch where they actually do upgrade the processor to a faster processor.
Switch up.
A Switch up.
Hey,
I like it.
That's the one.
Because that would be really nice to get like slightly better graphics. Because we're now going to come up on in 2020. We're going to come up on the PS5 in the next version of the Xbox.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think the Switch does fine for what it is. Right. I don't have a problem with it. But that graphical parity is just going to get wider and wider.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on the title. So because like if they lean heavily into the highly stylized type of games, like Breath of the Wild, I'm okay with them using.
Yeah.
But yeah, for Nintendo titles, but for like games like Bloodstained, where it came out on other consoles and looked fantastic, but then everybody was waiting for the Switch title, the Switch version, because they wanted to play it on portable, and then it was kind of it wasn't a good situation.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, true.
A little more processing power might help out, even with a 2D side-scrolling game like a Castlevania game.
Yeah, that's rough, honestly.
Yeah.
I think everyone should just make their games based on Nintendo Switch, and then it'll be great.
Right? That should be the primary development
exactly,
platform,
right.
and then just build up from there.
Look at that. Don't worry, PS4 guys, they'll no longer be able to say, "Hey, my game looks better." Like, nope, just play it portable. There we go. I promise Nintendo not paying me.
Oh man!
All right, so you guys gonna buy this thing or not?
No.
I think Arekkz, you already said yes.
I have pre-ordered mine.
Which color?
Well,
the not red version.
I've tentatively held yellow, and also grey.
Really?
And then I'm waiting for the Nintendo Switch Pokemon one to come out, and I'm holding the pre-orders, and then I'll cancel the ones that I don't want. Or what probably
3 pre-orders now. I mean, come on. Just one more pre-order and you get the full set.
Yeah.
I don't want turquoise. Get out of here.
No turquoise. Really?
Oof,
I like that. I think if I order one, it'll be the turquoise one. I like that.
Think about this. Just think about this. You could be in a green screen using the turquoise and green screen out part of the Switch.
Ooh,
it would look like I've got a floating screen like Minority Report.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
But then I could just green screen the yellow.
Ooh, yellow's tough. It's getting close to skin tones.
Ooh.
Yeah.
True.
So.
Oh, but then it could be even better because then you wouldn't see my hands, and then it would look like floating buttons on a screen. Look at the stream. That would be like VR. I'd be like, guys, welcome to the VR headset.
Right? Nintendo finally gets into VR.
Imagine that. But yeah, I've tentatively got that on pre-order. As soon as the Pokemon one goes up, I'll do that. I then just need to make sure I don't do what I often do and forget to cancel the pre-orders, and then 3 Nintendo Switches start up at my door. Be bad.
I feel like you're not that disappointed though if that happens.
Not really. No. It also happens with games because invariably there's like a little mini collector's edition that happens on Nintendo Store. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll just hold that for now, and then I'm like, I forget that I bought it on Amazon, and then I'm like,
shows up, yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah.
Nintendo can have my money.
Tefty, you're definitely not getting this thing.
No, I already have a Switch. I have no desire for again, it's not portable enough to feel like it's an afterthought. So I still have to think about how I'm going to store it, what pocket and all that stuff. So it's just, I'd rather just deal with the regular Switch, which is already great.
I'm definitely getting one of these, partially because I have 2 sons who, we all 3 of us share one Switch now. So just having an extra Switch around is just going to, be more convenient for the whole family.
That's a perfect solution right there.
Also, having it be slightly more portable when I do travel will be nice. And that D-pad, I am sold on that D-pad because I really don't like the buttons that they're using now.
I hope following that they do release some official Joy-Con, because I know you can mod a Joy-Con to have a D-pad now.
Yeah,
but I know there's some of the third-party ones you can buy without a battery that has it. Yeah, but I hope they like release some, because one of the interesting things that baffled me for a while. I'm not sure whether they did this because like they're changing hardware or whatnot, but at launch they released so many different Joy-Con colors. They also released 3 different Pro controllers, and then suddenly they just stopped. Like no more Joy-Con colors, no more Pro controllers. And I thought, I mean, there were so many perfect games for like, why was there not like there was obviously a Mario Odyssey Joy-Con, but why were there not like Joy-Cons for Mario Maker? Why was there not like a special like Pro controller for some of the other games that come in, like Astral Chain? It just seems weird that they suddenly stopped. So unless behind the scenes they're doing it because they're revising them and like they're going to release a Switch Pro that has like a Pro controller too, or like slightly revised Joy-Cons. But yeah, it's just weird how I mean, because hey, there we go, right? Yeah, that. But I mean, but that like all that stuff. I just think to myself, I mean, that's printing money, right? I mean, I bought like all the Joy-Cons, I bought all the Pro controllers, and it just seems strange that there was this big hard stop.
It's supposed to be a British thing because the only other person I know living over there bought them all too. Gary
really?
Diaz. Yeah, he's got the full set.
Oh dear. Yeah, I had to import my my Mario Odyssey ones from Japan just to complete the set.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's quite the collection.
So I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. If they refresh that Pro controller, I'll be very interested because right now I think that's the best controller out of all 3 of the consoles. Like I like it the 100%. Best.
It's honestly my favorite controller, like of all time now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I really like it. I wish I could use it.
That's the one that launched?
I'm sure there is a way.
The one that launched with the Switch?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I used that for Breath of the Wild. It was good. Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah,
it's very comfortable.
I think the nice thing about it is like it's got the similar like layout to the Xbox controller, but it's got the nice tactile feel for buttons. I feel like the Xbox controller has great layout and comfort, but like where it lacks is like the ABXY, like they're a little bit squishy, whereas the Switch controller basically has all of that. It has the nice layout, the nice feel, good triggers, and
good
buttons, especially for fighting games and stuff. So
yeah, nice feel to it. Like I really like it.
Nice.
Yeah,
it was expensive though.
Yeah,
it wasn't like $70 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nintendo products, man, they got like a premium on that stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
It's because they're made of pure fun. That's they condense fun. They just inject it into plastic.
By fun. Got it. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, it makes sense.
If they had made like a couple of small tweaks to this thing, it'd make it so much more interesting to me too. Like the fact that you can't hook it up to a dock and play it on TV kind of stinks. Like if you're a multiple Switch household, like it'd be nice. Like it's got that USB-C port on the bottom, but apparently like the electronics to like send a video out to that was like beyond the the scope of $200 product.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of things like that kind of put me on the I like there's no reason for me to like grab one of these. Yeah. Like even when it comes to the portability, I'd rather just use my Switch. But
yeah,
fair.
What's next? What do we got? I lost our
I think you said you were playing Lara Croft, right?
I am. I'm playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider. This is the 3rd game in kind of the most recent reboot of
Did this come
Lara
out
Croft, the first
last year?
This one came out in November of last year, but I didn't. Or no, I'm sorry, it came out in September of last year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I didn't play it in September of last year because I wanted to wait and play the version that they were kind of advertising at the time with all the ray tracing.
Oh, right.
And all of kind of like the newest kind of NVIDIA RTX features. And I'm glad I did because the game looks phenomenal. I'm actually playing it at 4K at a very good frame rate, 60 frames per second, no problem, with ray tracing turned on because it uses the new DLSS feature, which is kind of like...
what's the GPU you're using?
A 2080 Ti.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Maxed up.
Yeah. The good one.
Yeah, the good one.
The good one. But I gotta say, the game looks phenomenal. Like it really, it's kind of breathtaking. You know, playing it in HDR, ray tracing, 4K. It's like it's just kind of stacking all of like those buzzwords on top of each other to a point where like the game just looks stupid good.
Wow.
But I don't like it as much as I've liked the previous 2 games in the series. the first game in like kind of this rebooted series was Tomb Raider, right? It was just called Tomb Raider, and it kind of starred a young Lara Croft who was, she was kind of stranded on this island and kind of just thrust into a situation that, she wasn't ready for, she wasn't prepared for, and she had to kind of like learn how to, fend for herself and, literally like learn how to climb mountains and shoot guns and hunt with a bow and arrow, like all that kind of stuff. And in the second one, Rise of the Tomb Raider, like she kind of came into herself and became a real badass. But this third one, it's like now she's just a fucking psychopath running around, like killing everything and stealing everything. Like it's very odd. Like the gameplay itself hasn't changed that much, right? They've added new features, like you can now climb like walls that are above your head, like upside down. And they've added like small features like this, but for the most part, the game feels very similar to Rise of the Tomb Raider. To me, the combat kind of has two modes to it. It has the initial stealth mode where you're sneaking around with either a silenced pistol or a bow and arrow, and you're just trying to pick guys off, and you can use kind of stealth moves. Like you could climb a tree, shoot an arrow into a guy, and then yank him up into the tree and kill him up there.
Wow.
And there's like, or you could jump down and knife him, like stuff like that. And that is actually really fun and satisfying. You can cover yourself in mud and hide in like dark shadows, like really cool stuff. Mm-hmm. But as soon as an enemy spots you, the combat just becomes really kind of boring. And like, there's no real cover mechanic. It feels clumsy. Like Lara's animations don't feel great. Like when you're actually shooting weapons, like it just feels like you're just kind of like you're just aiming, shooting your way through, almost like Uncharted. Where Uncharted is such a cool game, but the combat always felt like I'm just trying to get through this combat to get to the next part of the game.
Definitely.
It feels a lot like that. So if you can avoid being spotted, the combat is really cool. If you get spotted, you
just have to kill everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
In a clumsy way. Like you lose all the coolness of Lara lurking in the shadows. But the really weird part is the story. So Lara has now like kind of become the Tomb Raider, right?
Okay.
And in the opening parts of the game, she goes to Mexico and she steals like a relic out of a tomb and starts like a natural catastrophe. Or that's at least the story in her head, is that because I stole this relic out of this tomb, it has started this natural catastrophe that killed like an entire town of people.
Wow.
And these bad things are going to continue happening unless I, Lara Croft, fix it. And it feels like, as the game player, I feel like, Lara, you're crazy. Like you're not like a god. These are two things that happened unrelated of each other, and you're putting yourself in the position of being like the only person in the world who can like fix everything wrong with the world. And then you kind of travel around South America meeting like indigenous people. And there's like this cool feature where the indigenous people speak the indigenous languages, but Lara always speaks English. So it's like, it's so weird to like you hear the person speaking in their native language, right? And there's subtitles so you can understand what they're saying. Mm-hmm. But then Lara just speaks in English.
And they understand?
And like, apparently, I mean, they have a conversation.
Okay.
And she's very concerned about, protecting, these indigenous people of South America. But meanwhile, she's murdering people left and right, like thousands of people, and anything she sees, she steals. Anything. She's walking around a village of, like native people, and
just
she's talking to them, and there's questing. But anytime she sees something flash on the ground, she's like a raccoon. She just fucking scoops it up. It's so bizarre because, like, the Lara that they had in Tomb Raider and in Shadow of the Tomb Raider, it felt like this natural progression, and you could really get on board with her, and you felt for her as a character.
Yeah.
But it completely breaks down in Shadow because she just feels like she's unhinged. Like,
kind of sounds like playing
the things that she says and the things that she does are so different.
Huh. Kind of sounds like when you're playing
It's really
Assassin's
weird.
Creed, you're like, whatever, I'll take this, I'll steal that, I'll kick that, you know?
Yeah, sure.
It almost sounds like I don't know whether this because obviously this is since it's Crystal Dynamics again still, right? So it almost feels like I like the first one they did, but the way you describe it sounds much more like what you do in Uncharted. Like obviously Nathan Drake, he'll pick up anything that's shiny. You know, you go around, you grab a coin, you grab a pot. Whereas my memory of Tomb Raider was always very much more like the things you picked up were typically, if you were going to collect it, invariably it would have more value, right? It's like this is a very like I don't know, it's like a jade dragon that's been hidden in like a temple. Like this is what I would pick up. Yeah, exactly, right. And everything you collect has much more meaning to it. Whereas there was definitely like as you kind of progress more so in Uncharted, there was like anything shiny, just grab it. So it definitely sounds, and also the way you kind of describe combat being like kind of diverging into this weird mess when suddenly you get seen. It definitely sounds almost like they're losing their kind of Tomb Raider identity,
identity crisis.
They're stuck in this, and then they're stuck in this weird place where they're like, what do we do? How do we get back to it? I know, we'll just go and make Uncharted. It's like, because then it's not, Tomb Raider's always been good because it is what it is. It's obviously the original one beforehand, but now it just sounds like they're going more towards something else. I don't know. Just the newer ones haven't appealed to me as much. Like I played the Tomb Raider remake, and then I played half through the second one, and then the new one I played it at like an event at E3 or Gamescom, and then I was like, not sure whether I want to play this one, and then just didn't really try that one. So yeah.
Is there like puzzle solving and interesting
puzzles? Oh yeah, there's tombs, of course. It's Tomb Raider, and you go in and like there's challenge tombs that are very much about like a puzzle or two that you have to figure out. Some of them are more satisfying than others. They're kind of hit or miss. Sometimes it feels like just you're pushing buttons randomly until you get the right answer, and sometimes it's like, okay, there's an actual code here that I have to decipher and try and figure this out. I don't think it's the strongest showing, to be honest, as far as like the tombs go.
Except those visuals.
Visually it looked. There's one tomb that you go into. It's not actually a tomb. I guess it's a tomb. It's under a church in Peru, and you end up like finding a secret access under this library or church or whatever it is, and it ends up being this kind of like this Christian kind of cult area where these people like created this cult like 300 years ago.
Some Freemason type of stuff.
It's filled with like posed mummified bodies and crosses, just like all the crosses are kind of like pointing inwards toward the middle of the tunnel, like this, like lining the thing, and it's just super dramatic. And the puzzle there is you have to like using mirrors kind of guide the light toward each next door and kind of try and figure that
Illuminati.
out. It looks unbelievable. The puzzle is very fucking obvious.
Okay.
Very obvious. But I mean, like spectacular to look at. But again, it's like Lara herself, like even the bad guy, the main bad guy's name is Dominguez. And you find that out like in the first 5 seconds, so it's not a spoiler. But his motivation is to save, I think the name of the lost civilization is Petiti, right? There's these Petitans who still live out in the jungle. They're one of those like uncontacted tribes out there.
Okay.
And they're still, they still live like kind of like a Mayan lifestyle. And his whole like motivation is to save, that way of life. And that's kind of Lara's motivation too. But meanwhile, Lara is literally like
murdering everybody.
Like, murdering and stealing everything in her path. It's just bizarre. It's just it's so hard to like get into the game. And like the climbing still feels fun. Like I always preferred the Tomb Raider style of climbing where you actually have to, make her jump in the correct way and kind of like use the kind of ice hooks correctly, and like there's actually some skill to making her navigate her environment as opposed to Uncharted where it just feels like you press in a direction and he magnetically kind of crawls up a wall. You never feel like you're in danger when you're crawling around in Uncharted.
Yeah, it feels like you're somewhat on rails.
But man, the world building is not great in this game, and Lara Croft's character is.
So it's like a glorified tech demo for ray tracing.
Yeah, in that way, it's a huge success. Like the game looks awesome.
Done, Crystal Dynamics. Yeah. My God.
NVIDIA says thank you. Oddly, it didn't come out till March, though. All those features didn't come out till March.
Really?
It took them that long to
implement them all. Maybe it was like a team that NVIDIA like put together to put those features in the game.
Maybe, right? It's like they sent a team over to Crystal Dynamics to actually get all this stuff working.
Yeah, they're like, we see the game here. It could be a great tech demo. Let's make that happen.
Oh my gosh.
Interesting. Anything else on the list?
Their G2A is in the news. Did you guys want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. What exactly is going on with G2A?
All right. Well, G2A is like one of those like discount game sellers, right? You can go onto their website and usually for heavily discounted prices buy, Steam codes for a game that you might want to buy. So like, the game might be $20 instead of $40, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's always been controversy around them because the story is that most of these game codes are stolen somehow, either by credit card fraud or, I don't even know how you steal game codes, to be honest.
Yeah, right.
Credit card fraud, I know, is a big part of it, is that people will steal a credit card, buy a bunch of game codes, put them on G2A, sell them, and then people buy them at a discounted price. But then, when people realize that their credit card was stolen, they charge it back. So all these game codes get sold, but the developers don't actually make any money off of this. The only people making money are the people that stole their credit card in G2A.
Yikes.
Right, so it's a super shady business model.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, I mean, that's the story. I can't confirm that. Like, I don't know how they get their game codes other than that, and I don't even know that that's how they get their game codes.
Any of you guys ever bought off of G2A?
No,
neither have I.
Back like way back in the day, like before I this was talking like back in the day before we sort of like knew much about what they do. But then now it's much more like. Because I remember for a while there were a lot of people that used to have them as their early days of YouTube. Everyone used to be like, "Oh yeah, sponsored by G2A,"
right.
And then it kind of came out and saw what they do, and it's like
Twitch streamers used to be all over Twitch. G2A used to sponsor everybody.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the history of G2A. Why they're back in the news? There was also like a couple weeks ago, a developer was on Twitter saying like, "We would rather you pirate our game than buy a G2A copy because we don't want you supporting G2A and we're not making any money either way." Wow. That's how developers feel about G2A. So the reason they're in the news again is because they sent out a letter to publications, like to gaming websites. Apparently around 10 or so websites got this letter. And what it was asking for was they had written an article about G2A, and they wanted it to be, published on these websites, these gaming websites. But they specifically didn't want it to be called sponsored content, even though they were going to pay for this to be
to
be put on the website,
which is already illegal.
Yeah, right. Further shady business practices.
Yeah, like super, super shady. And the wording of the email says like that they're sending out a transparent and unbiased pre-written article about stolen game keys and asking sites to publish it. But they quote, without being marked as sponsored or marked as associated with G2A. So they wanted this article published. And they were willing to pay to have it published, but they specifically didn't want anybody to know that they wrote the article or that they were paying to have it published.
That's just against the law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just huge red flags. That is, oh, wow.
Wow.
Did anyone publish it? Were there any sites that went?
No, I don't think so. I think we would know.
Yeah.
Because that would have
caught red-handed, right? Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
That is weird, man. I mean, it sounds super shady. I mean, I get it. Like if you got really tight funds and you see an option to get a game that you really want to play for super cheap, I understand the appeal, obviously.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but if a developer is telling you they'd rather have you pirate it than pay G2A for it, that's pretty telling.
Yeah. That's straight up shady business right there.
Yeah.
It's weird that they're still in business. Are they just like operating in a country that just doesn't care?
I do not have enough backstory about them as a company to know.
I guess it'll be one of those things where like the reason they're still in business is like ultimately, despite it's that unfortunate reality where despite things being bad, people still go for convenience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like even though people, I'm sure a lot of people that purchase on there don't have necessarily the knowledge of all that stuff, and they'll just be like, I'm not buying this game off there because, I mean, as you said, like they'll be like, I'm not buying this game off there to hurt someone. They'll just be like, well, it's cheaper, and that's all I can afford right now. So a lot of people probably don't know, and as a result of that, they probably have a huge amount of traffic from those kind of people. So that's probably what keeps them going and allows them to kind of keep going. If there was some way of like letting every single person know, it's like physically stop buying from here, they would obviously go down very soon. But I think it's that kind of weird. Well, it's the online space, right? It's just people, not many people know in the grand scheme of things. Like obviously we see these articles, but like how many people that buy on that website actually go looking at gaming news and actually see those things?
Totally, yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean that definitely makes sense. It's just weird that they're able to get away with what seems to be a lot of shady business practice.
Yeah, well, it's super fucked up too because you can, if you buy from G2A, you like a game code. Like let's say you buy a Steam key from G2A. They actually will offer insurance on that Steam code to make sure it works, because the likelihood of going to put the Steam code in and having it be an unactivated Steam code because the chargeback already happened on the stolen credit card is so high.
That is crazy.
So they have a business model based around the fact that this is a shady business practice.
Which I believe they then charge you for their extra insurance, right? So you have to
yes,
pay
they
more.
do. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
what a weird business. How are they still in business? How, like, you would think that like Steam would crack down on that.
Yeah,
right.
I guess once you get the code, because I guess there's no way of knowing, like, because a code is just a code, right? There's no way of knowing where you got it from. So I guess like if you buy that for Steam and you put it in somewhere, I guess the code itself is just the game, right? So I guess there's no way of knowing, oh, this guy bought it from G2A.
I think they do know. Steam does know, but they're hesitant to take stuff away from gamers, even though like the gamer bought the thing.
Oh, right.
As far as their
G2A, concerned, they put money into it.
They made a legitimate purchase, bought a game at G2A, got a Steam code. So Steam goes in and takes that game away because they used a stolen credit. Or, the Steam code was bought with a stolen credit card. Mm-hmm. That just looks shitty for Steam.
Yeah.
So Steam's kind of, I think, caught in a rough place there. Maybe that's what Steam needs to do, is just take a hard line on it, though.
Yeah, it seems like if there's a chargeback on a card, they should just null those codes just straight up, and then.
Well, they do, but if you've already used it on Steam, they don't take your game away.
Right.
But they do nullify the code. So if the chargeback happens before you put your code in, then it just won't work.
Got it. Okay.
Right. Okay.
So
and that's why G2A sells insurance on the codes.
So there's enough time transpiring that people are able to buy this code, use it from GTA, and then a chargeback happens on that card like a week or two later or something that would nullify the code, but it's already been used because it was purchased off of G2A.
Yeah.
That sounds like a yikes.
That fucked up.
That is super. Like,
I just can't believe they literally sent an article like, "Hey, please publish this. Here's some money. Please don't say it."
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy.
There is an update to the story, is that there was an email that was sent out by G2A. Oh no, they said on Twitter. Okay, this is a quote from G2A on Twitter. These emails were sent out by our employee without authorization, for which we apologize.
Of course they were.
To Indie Games Plus and the 9 other media outlets he sent this proposal to. He will face strict consequences, as this is absolutely unacceptable.
He will strictly rise the ranks to the executive position.
Yeah.
Bad. You don't get to work now. You get to go to the executive chair. Unbelievable.
Blame it on Jimmy the intern. Like, oh yeah. He
totally.
was in charge of our social media account today.
Yeah.
Gee, sorry guys.
You worked in the mail room, the digital mail room.
Oh dear. Yeah, that is.
That's messed up.
Yeah, so the whole thing is just crazy, and it's kind of this like continuing saga of G2A. And there's other companies like this. This is just the one that seems to be like the most popular one, so it gets the most press.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like Steam just kind of has to take like a hard stance on it. I get it that it's like really lame if you bought money or spent money on that and then redeemed a code and then had it revoked. But like at the same time, you're going to GTA. And maybe you need to do some more research on where you're getting your keys from.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's just a problem at Steam, too. I think that like you can buy codes for like the Ubisoft store, the EA store.
Oh, really? Yeah. So this is common practice right now.
Yeah.
Interesting. Maybe they need some sort of verification thing with codes. This would probably get all messed up. But like if they had some sort of encryption thing with codes that kept track of the information that was supposed to be with it. So if that information didn't verify with the code that was originally purchased with it, then they'd be like, well, you're not the person.
This is starting to sound an awful lot like always online copy protection.
I know. That's why, yeah, and that's bad too. That doesn't help.
Yeah.
This is why they have these like overly convoluted keys to prevent piracy that ultimately breaks the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to go back like the old days where you got to find page 5 of the manual, paragraph 4, word 3, letter 2.
What does it say?
Or just go back to the physical age, right? Let everyone just physically buy their games in discs.
Yeah.
Done.
Or
go back to cartridges.
It generates an email, and you have to go to that email of the original purchase and look at like line 42. Character 7. What does it say?
Yeah, but then you can't like gift games. Like
that's true.
It's kind of a cool feature on Steam that you can like give a friend a game. Like.
Yeah.
True.
I guess you could, but
they can make a different system instead of the key system.
Yeah. I kind of think you're right though, Tefty. I think like if you bought a game off a site like this and it proves to be a code bought with a stolen credit card, I think Steam should feel okay about taking that game away.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shady business.
That's going to discourage people from going to, places like that.
Exactly. If enough people find out that if you bought from such and such place and you lost your product, lost money, then enough people are going to be like, don't ever buy from there. And then they lose their business.
Yeah. Right. And now, like, what publication out there now is ever going to defend G2A? Yeah,
right.
Like, who would dare... Right, even if it's like their favorite service, and they feel like they've changed everything. Everything shady is now gone from G2A, and Jason Schreier knows it. The fuck he's gonna write an article about it.
Yeah,
everybody's gonna be like, "You took the money."
Bought and paid for.
Right? Oh my god.
That's
I think they could have a system where it's just like where you just have physical Well, you should have like registered retailers online. If you're not a registered retailer, you like physically can't sell codes. So it just limits the store output, and then people can just be like, in the same way you go to a website and it's like, hey, this website is safe to use your MasterCard on, right? I mean, whether there's like a system they could put in place, but like this site is approved to sell codes.
But what's happening though is that they're literally taking secondhand codes. So there's no system involved to like. You know what I mean? Like those codes are already sold, and then the chargeback happens. But like,
no, yeah. You know
what I mean? It's it's like buying a code off of Craigslist.
Yeah,
but they're guaranteeing it because they have so many that they can go and like, oh, let's give you another one if that one doesn't work.
Well, for an extra $3 there.
Oh, that's hilarious. Actually, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's tough. Like, yes, I've saved $3 on this. Hey, don't forget to buy our insurance, man.
That code might not work. If it doesn't, that $3 will cover you. Oh, that's weird, man. Yeah.
Yeah, that's super weird. It's yeah.
It's strange.
I don't even know what to say about it, really. It's like it pretty much explains itself as far as I'm concerned.
It does. Yeah. Again, I totally get the allure because if your budget is super tight and you only have like $15 for a game, but you really want to play that game that's like charging $50. If I don't know if that's the cut, right, or whatever, but like,
especially if you're ignorant to the fact that the game developers aren't getting the money, right? Like, if like if you're like, hey, like I don't make a lot of money, but I really want to play this Assassin's Creed game. It's $60 if I buy it on Steam or Ubisoft. But hey, this website over here has it for $20. It's not like I'm stealing. I'm buying a legitimate, like I'm paying legitimate money. I'm making a transaction.
You're a customer.
I'm not stealing. Yeah, I'm not pirating. I'm not stealing.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, man. It's like pawn shop stuff. You know, you don't know if that was sold or not. Or, you know, if you don't know if it was stolen, where they got it. Like, that's why serial numbers existed to look things up of who owned it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. That's why I write my name and address on everything I own. An indelible marker. I scratch it in with a Bowie knife.
Scratch it in with an X-Acto knife.
This was stolen from
this time, this date.
You register all your product with the police department so they know if they look up your serial numbers.
People do that with like expensive stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the thing. I bought a piece of gear a long time ago and it got flagged and somebody was like, "Oh, this was actually stolen 10 years ago from a studio." And I was like, "Wow, really?" And I bought it off of eBay. Yeah.
Damn.
It happens. Yeah. What else we got? Is that it? Or is there any other stuff going on?
So I've been playing. Well, a couple of quick things we can use to round out and go from like a crazy news to like a positive uplift. Here you go.
All
so
right, let's do it.
I've been playing Tiny Metal Full Metal Rumble this week, which is the sequel to Tiny Metal Rumble, and it's basically like an Advance Wars like game.
Metal Rumble.
Yeah. So think Advance Wars, right?
Okay.
But this was it's on other platforms as well, but it came out on Switch, and the first time it came out, it looks quite different. It's got, instead of having like the kind of 2D pixel sprites, it's got like the actual 3D model sprites, and like it looks quite charming in some ways. Sometimes in combat, it doesn't have the same polish and flair that Advance Wars does. And if you were going to kind of compare it to say like Wargroove, which came out earlier this year, I still think Wargroove is more polished in terms of visually. However, it kind of whereas Wargroove is much more kind of like straddling the line between Advance Wars and Fire Emblem. This is definitely your traditional military setup. So you've got I think 4 different factions. You have all your units as you would expect. You know, you start as a turn-based strategy game. So you start off on the map. You then move your units around. You progressively work across the map to take out the enemy units or to capture their base. But it's got like visually it looks quite interesting because you've got like for the cutscenes you've got these anime characters with these sort of flat 2D sprites, but then when you go into the game you've got these little 3D models, and then when you go into the actual combat scenes you have them fighting in 3D space. So it does look quite cool. It runs for the most part runs quite well. A couple of times when there's like explosions on screen you get a couple of frame drops, so it's not perfect.
This is on the Switch, right?
Yes, yeah, but it's definitely a big step up from the first one because I know the first one had quite a few issues. But they introduced some really cool new systems in this, and I think that's one of the things that sort of like jumped out to me because on the surface, you might refer to it kind of like an Advance Wars clone. And the studio themselves, they said they're massive fans of that series, so they built it with that kind of thing in mind. But there are some really cool gameplay elements to it. So there are in a lot of the time in these games you have your units per match, and then of course you work through. But there are you have like hero units in this one, which you can then progressively level up and they kind of carry with you across games.
That's
so you
cool.
can actually have some units that you can then power up. And they also have these really clever combat systems where like in a lot of the time in these games, you move across a grid, you land in front of your enemy and then you attack them and you exchange, one-on-one battles. But in this one, you've actually got these strategic almost kind of like traps you can set up where you can move your units around to surround someone and you can do these synchronized shots. So you basically like position 3 units or 4 units to completely circle someone. And then you just get this crazy overkill situation where there's like one poor little mercenary unit and then you've got like a tank that fires at him, then a guy snipes him, then a guy shoots him with a machine gun, then like this other thing fires a rocket over on. And it's like, okay, he's definitely dead.
No kill like overkill.
Yeah, exactly, right? But those are pretty cool. And you've also got these moves that can actually physically push people out of spaces. So when it comes to strategic things, like you're fighting an enemy and you might not be able to win the battle, but they're capturing somewhere, you can then actually go up and choose to do like a less powerful attack, but it's an attack that will physically push them out of space. So it then takes them out the kind of the capture sort of setup.
That's cool.
There's some interesting sort of gameplay elements that that kind of add a little twist to this genre because it's a genre we're quite familiar with. This is a genre we've had quite a lot of this. It's become one of those quite formulaic things. You know kind of what to expect from a turn-based strategy game.
Yeah, turn-based strategy.
Yeah.
Top-down turn-based strategy with 3D models.
Yeah.
On the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that sounds like a perfect Switch game.
It's available on
Exactly,
Steam as well.
Nice.
Yes, yeah. Steam. I think it might also be on PS. Oh, I'm not sure. Could be mistaken, but yeah, definitely on Steam. Has multiplayer, has all that kind of stuff like that. So you've got versus, you've got a campaign through it. I think the campaign supposedly you can get around 20 to 30 hours out of it. So it's a decent length campaign. It's got you play as all the youth players of 3 different factions, and they have their own individual stories, and they eventually intertwine, and you kind of meet up in the middle of it. So I mean, I quite enjoyed it. I'm only part way through at the moment, but there's a lot of things to unlock. You've of course got the hero stuff to work through. So I'd say for anyone that's sort of looking for like an Advanced Wars fix and is still not quite got that, then could be something worth checking out.
Nice.
It's only $12.74, and I'm definitely buying it. And there's a demo available on the Switch.
Demo on the Switch as well.
Yeah.
So you can get yourself hooked.
I can't wait.
And then buying it.
And then you can play it on your Switch Lite.
That's right. Well, except for Tefty. Tefty can't.
I won't.
And also,
I'll be playing on my regular Switch.
Completely unrelated to Full Metal Rumble, but I completely forgot, and I can't believe that I didn't mention this in listing topics for this week. But we had a new Monster Hunter trailer as well.
Nice.
Okay.
Which in this one showed off 3 kind of core things. We saw subspecies, which is really cool. So some new subspecies. There's a new version of Odogaron called the Ebony Odogaron. Is it Ebony? I believe so. It's like a darker black version. It has dragon element, so of course it looks kind of crazy and fierce. And
That's
subspecies
cool.
For anyone that kind of hasn't played before, you'll take like an existing monster that and it'll look different, in color scheme, but it also behaves differently. So it's not just like a reskin. They'll invariably have something that's very unique to them. Yes, like their kind of core function, their core kind of movement will be very much similar to what you expect. They will have some things that are unique to them, and obviously being a different monster, they also have their own weapons, their own armor sets. So that's pretty cool. That kind of opens it up. There's also a Anjanath that is called, I can't remember what the Anjanath. I completely forgot, but basically it's a Thunder Anjanath, which really interests me because Anjanath is one of those interesting monsters that he was really cool in world, but because he was one of those like low tier monsters, you fight him quite early on, and he doesn't really get any attention towards end game.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that they've got like a nice subspecies version that actually looks really cool, like the front of him, his head has got these like tiger stripe kind of things on the back of his body, sort of this darker color, and he's got this crazy move where he literally jumps and flies through the sky with like electric in his mouth. So I'm like, okay, this guy's not messing around. So that was pretty cool. What else? They showed the multiplayer hub in the trailer. So nice. Obviously we got to see the area, which is really cool because they finally, how like the multiplayer hub in World normally you would play if you wanted to kind of go and do anything with the smithy or go and sort out your farm, you had to leave the hub and go downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
They've now put everything in the multiplayer hub, so you can do everything you need to while you're online. So
if you go to the multiplayer area, they added extra spots for all that stuff.
Yeah, so you can physically like walk to the smithy. You can walk to. They said that they'll give you like access to the smithy. We didn't actually see them physically go there, but they mentioned that the smithy's been put there. You can manage your farm. You can manage your palico. So basically, everything you would normally do in town, you should be able to do from the hub, which is really nice.
Nice. That's cool.
That's
also
nice quality of life.
Showed off. Yeah, exactly right. There's a lot of like nice little like squad life, squad quality of life features as well.
I wish they'd just make the whole town like multiplayer. Be so nice.
That would be nice. Yeah, I would like that.
I'm sure there's restrictions why they're not doing that, but man, it'd be so, because it's like Destiny. When you're in the Tower of Destiny, random people are showing up there. Like that's always really cool. Having to go to the social hub is a little disappointing to like show off what you're wearing and all that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. Yeah, I guess Capcom's probably like, oh no, this is where the story takes place. This is where, but I know I completely agree. I would love that. That would be awesome. I guess kind of like what Monster Hunter not online, sorry, Monster Hunter Frontier had, because that was like the more MMO-y kind of one.
Okay.
They had like massive towns and
yeah.
But then on top of that, they also had a little bit of gameplay of Glavenus, because obviously Glavenus was teased at the end of the previous one. We actually got to see him this time, and he looks amazing in like high def in like 1080p. So he looks really cool. And then they teased the return of another monster, Brachydios, which is the like blue. Like giant blue brute wyvern with the green glowing fists that basically punches, and he was the one that back in Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate introduced Slime, which we now know as Blast. So he is a very cool monster.
Cool.
And then people are then posing the question, because like obviously they released that anniversary artwork that has a lot of monsters on it, for a lot of time. People have been like, are they all coming to World? And gradually, systematically, they are getting revealed. I still don't know whether we'll get all of them because they did say, for example, one of them, like one of my favorite monsters, Arekkz, which is like the Leviathan one, they said a long time ago in World they couldn't implement it. I don't know whether that's changed since then. But it does look like they are adding quite a few of those. So there's a few more like iconic ones that I think we're probably gonna hopefully see. But yeah, there's a lot of exciting stuff.
Do you think Iceborne is going to be the only big expansion, or do you think they're potentially going to be looking at multiple expansions to World?
Iceborne will be the only one. They actually confirmed the other day. In like an interview in a Japanese one, they said Iceborne basically. It was actually in Game Informer's coverage. They said Iceborne marks the completion of World. Like once it's done, like they did say you can obviously you can still expect like the follow up free like events for like. I mean, they didn't say for how long, but typically for Monster Hunter, like following a release, there's like a year of like free content stuff,
right? Events.
But they did confirm like after Iceborne, there won't be like a Fireborn or something like that,
right? Blastborn.
So but then like the next release would be like a World 2 or
exactly, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Monster Hunter Galaxy.
Do they do like World 2, or would it be like Tefty said, like called something completely different?
I mean, I imagine they call it something. Like, up in the past, it would have been something like that because they've always gone like Monster Hunter, Freedom Second, like 3 Ultimate, 4 Ultimate. So they started to do the numbers, but then when they introduced World, because of the kind of global appeal, they didn't want to call it Monster Hunter 5. So I feel like whatever they do after this will probably again have like a different name, but it would basically be like Monster Hunter 6.
I mean, it's so popular. Like it broadened the reach of Monster Hunter so much. I can imagine them doing like a World 2 just to try and
capture that audience.
Those people that liked World, this is more of that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 100%. I mean, 100%. Because I mean, like when you think about how long the series has been going now, and like they even when Monster Hunter before World was super niche, and like their sales were they kind of pushed like a couple of million at most, like 2 or 3 million at most. Like they still continue to release them because obviously a lot of it was driven by the handheld market in Japan. But then now that they've got that Western appeal, they're there, and it's obviously Capcom's best-selling game. There's clearly no way they're going to be stopping. They'll be like they're probably going to think after Iceborne, like, all right, where are we going next? Because the interesting question as well is like outside of World, like also what they may well do for Nintendo Switch, because there's always been 2 Monster Hunter teams. There's been like the kind of the spin-off team who do things like Generations, who have done Portable Third, who have often done like a lot of the handheld ones, and then of course you have like the core team. So when they finish Iceborne, I imagine that team would go on to whatever, like World 2, but there's still another Monster Hunter team that we don't know what they're doing. And given like Nintendo work with Capcom, it kind of makes sense to hopefully think they're working on. I really hope they're working on a Portal one, because I do love, like, although I love World, Monster Hunter, like for me, I started playing as a portable game, and I do miss being able to like take it with me all the time. So I sincerely hope they're kind of doing them both in parallel.
Yeah, my first experience was on the DS, and I didn't get into it long term. I probably put like 50 hours into it. Arguably long term, depending on if you're a Monster Hunter fan or not.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed being able to just like flip it open, fight a monster or go hunting for materials, and then close it and just kind of continue on my way. Like it as a portable game, it did work really well. Like that format of game worked really well. Yeah. So I would like to see that too.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody expects a version of World to come out on the Switch at this point.
No.
So it'd have to be developed from scratch.
Yeah, they said the hardware can't support it, right?
I would understand. That game looks fantastic, and the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One can hardly handle it.
Yeah. It's true.
And I want them to do it like separately anyway, because I mean, like there's always been a very kind of like the handheld team, or the kind of spin-off team, so to speak, have always had like a very slightly different vision. They're the ones that are often kind of introduce some of the slightly crazier things. So, when Generations came around, they brought in styles, they brought in things like oils for Sword and Shield. So I kind of like the idea that they can build something from the ground up for the handheld that doesn't necessarily have to conform to like the kind of realism of the Western version. So
yeah. But I hope they do take into account some of the updates that were made for World as far as like 100%, gameplay and like approachability goes, because to me that made a lot of difference. Like World is to me a much better game than
World's fantastic.
I can't even remember the game I played on the DS. I'd have to dig it out and find it. It was fun, but it was like super confusing, and I never felt like I was doing anything right without like looking up stuff on YouTube or like guides. World was much more natural. It's just like it really like led you into playing the game in a much easier way.
No, you're definitely right. I think they need to, like, whatever they do next, they'll need to kind of take a lot of the quality of life stuff and work with that. Because if that goes backwards, you know, even if you went from a model of like exploring a completely open map to suddenly having to go back to loading zones, that in itself would just be really weird.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely.
I didn't have a problem with the loading zones, but now I would.
Yeah, I was actually going back the other day because I was recording a video for one of the new for one of the returning monsters, and like I forgot that I'm just hanging around by like a loading zone barrier because I was just filming a video for something. I kept on like rolling backwards. I'm like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Like, but then you go through a loading screen, go back through a loading screen.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah.
World was on sale in the Steam sale last week.
Oh.
And I ended up buying it on PC, even though I was like, you know,
Nice.
I know Iceborne's not going to come out for like 6 months on this, but man, the PC version of this game looks so good.
Yeah.
It plays nice on PC.
So, yeah. So I ended up picking it up. I haven't installed it yet.
I was originally going to regrind a character on PC, and then when I found out,
a lot of grind though.
Yeah, it is for sure. And then when I found out that the PC releases weren't going to be on parity with console, I was like, oh,
yeah,
I'm just going to stick with PS4. Plus, I
hope they fix that in the future, whether it be with the next game or not. Like, I hope that the PC version does come to scheduled parity.
It does make me think of like an always online version of Monster Hunter, which would be really interesting and satisfying. You know? Like the MMO-ish type of thing that's going on. You said there was an MMO one before.
Yeah, Frontier. They recently closed I think they, after like some crazy number of years, they finally closed the service for it.
Interesting. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So like all the modern stuff of Monster Hunter World built into like a modern MMO type of package, I think would be really cool for a game like that, because the grind is fun, and yeah, those aspects are really cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, is that the show?
I believe so.
SideQuest.
I think so. Now I want to go play Monster Hunter.
Complete. I can't wait for Iceborne.
We're going to get asked to make us a little graphic to play.
Yeah.
Yeah,
a little coin thing. Like
I'm thinking something like the More You Know NBC graphic.
Yeah.
Like a little rainbow that goes across the screen.
That'd be awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much for watching, guys. Really appreciate all the support. Shout out to our Patreon subs. We are, we're trucking along 10 episodes deep on SideQuest, which is great.
Oh, wow. With the double digits, huh?
We're double digits podcast, guys.
Ooh. That's official.
Wow. That's great. If you want to find more of me, you can talk to me at Teft on Twitter, and you can catch my streams, twitch.tv/TeftyTeft. I usually stream in the evening time, West Coast, California evening time.
Nice. If you want to find me, you can find me over on Twitter at Arekkz or YouTube/Arekkz Gaming. Although I will be nowhere next week. I'm going on holiday, so I'll be off social media, so you can't find me anywhere.
What are you doing? You don't have to say where you're going, but
I'm going. I'm going to Okinawa in Japan, just for like a little like crazy. Oh, my camera's gone weird. Little crazy, like just a quick week. So I'm flying tomorrow, arrive on Wednesday, fly home on Sunday, back for the episode on Monday. So
short week.
Only 3 days there, and I've just found out from the weather. It keeps changing because it's an island, so it keeps on changing every day. But like currently, it tells me it's gonna be raining for the 3 days I'm there. So yay for beaches and the rain. We'll see.
It sounds relaxing, at least, except for the flying.
Should be, yeah. I'm gonna play some Switch, read some books.
There you go.
That's it.
Nice. I'm Briar Rabbit. You can find me on Twitter. Or I actually just uploaded a video on YouTube today about playing games with a DualShock controller on your iOS device, either an iPhone or an iPad.
Nice.
And you can play PlayStation games, Steam games, or obviously, like iOS games.
Fancy.
And it's super nice being able to use a real controller instead of the stupid made for iPhone controllers. So check out Briar Rabbit on YouTube to find that video.
There you go.
Nice.
All right. Well, thank you very much for watching, guys. We will see you next week for another episode.
Yeah, I just said, Arekkz, you didn't freeze once.
I didn't.
Oh, no,
it's about SideQuest first.
No Arekkz bingo this week.
Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to sneak it back in. It's because I think I found my internet issue, so I think I fixed it.
Oh,
really?
Fixed an issue. Okay. All right. Well, we'll see next week. Find out next week if Arekkz Bingo continues or if it's officially dead. We'll see. Thanks for watching, guys.